Hello, everyone. Welcome to our hashtag Tarot Songs podcast. This is a podcast for learning the tarot through readings, through music, through meditations, and interviews. So today is Virgo season. It is the new moon in Virgo, Friday, the 22nd of August. And I pulled some cards. I wanted to do a bigger reading today now that we have this podcast series going that kind of dives deeper into a richer connection with the cards than just some of the social media things that I've been doing. So we can just get right into it. That Virgo season, if you're not familiar, it is the symbol of the Virgin, which really, is kind of rooted in some of the practices of harvesting when humans were really connected to the earth and we were, our seasons were based on our harvest. And so this time of year is the time of year when things were plentiful. Everything that we, seeds that we planted, and wanted to grow even in February, everything is coming to fruition. And so it's a very bountiful time, the Virgin thinking about this opportunity, this very fruitful and also there's a simplicity in Virgo, I think, that is implied by the Virgin, that the simplicity of just kind of very pure and innocent. And so there's that quality of our Virgo season that we have. Some other themes that we would be working through that I specifically asked about the cards, some Virgo themes would definitely include awareness of your health, as well as a desire for efficiency through process and progress. And Virgo can get this kind of stereotype of having the to-do list and being the micromanager and really kind of being very strong and forceful in getting things done. But that's because there is a joy in Virgo of having an efficiency in a process, and rather than actually just checking it off the list, there's a joy in the actual creating of the process. And Virgo is an earth sign, so there is this very practical grounding, a humbleness and humility in understanding that there's, you've come a long ways, but there might be more to go. So even if you are very productive, there can be a tendency to have perfectionism if you continue to keep raising the bar on yourself and having high standards, and can come across as being very critical of yourself or others. This is in shadow. And everybody, I think, can relate to these, whether you have Virgo in your chart very strongly or not. These are qualities that are coming to awareness in this moon and in this season. So, there might be some of that perfectionism where you kind of keep raising the bar. Also, lastly, I think something that applies to this season is a lot of, there can be some control issues. And when your process, or when the people that you're managing are working with, or when life is not going as you planned or in the way that you expect it to, there can be some anxiety in this mentally, because you're not, you have kind of an order and way you want things to go. And if the rug gets pulled out, there can be kind of a freak out, or it can bring an awareness of the places where we might believe that we're in control, and places where if we were to loosen some control over the process, that our own health might benefit from that. So getting into that, some of the questions that I asked for our anchor card for this season, and our general card for the season is the 10 of Cups. And I'll just kind of run through them real quick so that you can see if you want to take your own notes, and feel free to do this spread. So we have our general card, and then I asked about our aspects of health, because Virgo is very much about health, but there's so many different versions of health, right? So we're going to talk about our physical health. We got the Magician, which is number 1 in the major arcana. We have our mental health, is the King of Swords. We have our emotional health, is Judgment, number 20. These are major arcana, these are big cards. And I just pulled them. Our spiritual health, our soul, what's happening with our soul, is the 9 of Pentacles. So I also like to ask what's happening beneath the surface, what's kind of this underlying toe that maybe our subconscious might be tapping into. It's kind of bubbling up to our awareness, might be driving some of the rest of the cards. And we got Justice, number 11. And then our guiding light. So I kind of do what's below and what's above. And our guiding light that is above is the Queen of Wands. So this is pretty balanced. You know, we have some earth, we have some swords, we have some water, and we do have quite a few major arcana out of these. So to start off with our 10 of Cups, you know, this is kind of in general the overarching theme of the rest of the layers of health. And I just want to address that my background with Reiki energy work and music and sound healing, you know, I have a strong experience with everything being in vibration, right? From a very core level, every single cell that we have is vibrating, right? And that each individual cell, how it functions and vibrates is going to be impacting and being affected by the cells around it. And so as those cells come together in the body, we create organs, right? We create our bodily systems, our nervous system, our blood, our skin, you know, so we have all these layers of vibration. And in our holistic health, you know, in Western medicine, there is a ton of focus on our physical health. You know, you can prove through testing kind of what's happening, some things in the body. But nowadays, there are so many, you know, autoimmune things coming up, so many diagnoses of things coming up that are very kind of unsettling for people, because Western medicine is not quite able to explain, you know, with whether it's cancer or Alzheimer's or whatever it may be. There's things that Western medicine can't necessarily pinpoint and prove. And so some of these other layers that once you have the physical layer, there is also a layer of our bodies, and there's certain cameras that can capture these vibrations. You have, you know, outside of that, different layers, and those layers that we're talking about today, you know, we have that physical, but on top of that, you have your emotions, right? And you have your mental health. So, and then above that, you have different layers of your spiritual. And I'm not an expert on every single layer. I'm not going to pretend that I'm, you know, teaching you. That's a lot of Eastern medicine, but I am skilled and experienced in understanding these different layers that can show up in Reiki sessions and also through the cards. So we're going to be talking about this intersection of our physical vibrations, our physical with our mental, with our emotional and our spiritual, and they're all kind of working together in this. And when you get a better understanding of it, I think that Virgo, it can be very helpful this season. So with that being said, we have our 10 of Cups as our card, our anchor card. And, you know, first you can see it's this couple sitting on this rainbow. They're watching children on the beach. You know, maybe they're sisters, right? Maybe they're lovers, you know, partners, friends. You know, it's implying a relationship here. And cups are, you know, water. There's a fluidity in this season that we're being asked to open to some of, I think, are places where you might be benefit from being more fluid with things coming and going. You know, you can't have rainbows without the rain. And so in this season, it's like when the sun does come out, when the rainbow comes out, are you able to focus and enjoy those moments? Or, you know, because 10 of Cups, it is connected to water, is our emotions. It is connected to our feelings about things, our relationships, right? Our divine feminine. So if you're able to be in awareness of these rainbows, or are your emotions kind of holding you back where you still feel like this rain cloud over you, and even when the good moments come, you're having trouble letting go of those bad moments, that what you're labeling as bad, because in this reading it would say that we may be labeling things with our head as bad, and if we can release some of that judgment, we will see more rainbows. Because our brains don't always know why things happen that may appear to be against us when they're actually for us. So So yeah, so there is this call to, and it is a number 10 is a number of activation, because we have the number 1 and the number 0. And the number 0 is opportunities. That there are opportunities this month and in this season that things that may appear to be storms or difficult are actually, they are for our benefit. And don't be quick to judge them. When things seem to fall, can you maybe lean into some of your relationships that might give you a little bit more support? This is activating support that we may have in others that kind of can help us lift us up. And there's something here with water too, with cups showing reflections, our reflections of the reality of our life and how things are going. We can get locked in these stories of our head about the process going a certain way. I have this job, I pay these bills, we have this on the weekends. You kind of get in this hamster wheel of life. And in this reflection back to you, whether it's allowing your friends or children, allowing things to kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, look, here's the mirror, it's actually going really better than you may feel that it is. So just pause for a minute, okay, and allow yourself to kind of shift. You're activating new ways of reacting, of responding versus the places that we react. I think there's a message there too. So that's kind of our overarching theme, is the 10 of Cups. And so when we move along, when we move to our body, we have the Magician. And this is the first, this is the first major arcana after the Fool. And with number 1, with the Magician, you can see he is, this has the infinity loop, the idea that everything is connected, everything is intertwined. You can take from the past and the future and the present, and there's, it's not a linear point of view with this Magician. And so the Magician, this is, because it is a major arcana for our physical health, this is an activation of a season of our health to recognize. I think with the Magician, the Magician can take all of the elements: earth, air, water, fire. It can take, our relationships. It can take, our physical job, our relationship with money, our resources. It can take our skills and our gifts. And the Magician can kind of take all of the elements and meld them together in their own way, in a way that is very unique to the Magician. And it's a reminder for us that in part of our how we go through our processes of things, like our habits, the way we get things done, the way, because this is our physical health too. So some of our physical habits, our routines, and the way we may go about doing our day-to-day things. This is a reminder that there may be more tools at your disposal that you're not really using. And so to kind of look at, how can I maybe be more creative? The Magician, in this earthly realm, with Virgo, it can be very helpful with the to-do list and the physical things, but there's also bringing in more of your intuition and saying, well, what if I am creative and instead of, my routines normally going like this, what if I kind of shift things around a little, and then it kind of creates this space and opens up a whole new way of your day flowing. So that's very helpful with this Magician. A reminder that you are the magician of your life. No one is going to take control of your life for you in the way that you can. So if you have changes that need to be made, it is on you to recognize when the universe is also helping you and giving you, serendipity or synchronicity, and having people come through the door, conversations that you may have, that those are little gifts that the Magician, I think of him as like making some big stew or something, in his cauldron, and, kind of combining all of these ingredients. So For example, something with that happened to me today. I'm in my store. I had someone come in the store who didn't really know anything about metaphysical or tarot or anything. And we just started chatting, and turns out that she used to work in the apartment complexes and used to manage, and was talking about how she would, one of her favorite things was to schedule events with tarot readers and sound healers, and have community events at her apartment complexes, and how popular they were. And I have had that idea for quite some time now, because it is a way of bringing together community. And I'm paying attention that is something that came across. That's like universe saying, don't forget about that. This, if you follow this, like, is it Hansel and Gretel? Yeah, follow the little breadcrumbs, excuse me. So the magician can kind of follow the breadcrumbs, and it's really stepping into being more of a creator of your life rather than a victim when the storms come through. Are you going to kind of sit, to bring it back to the 10 of Cups, you're going to kind of sit and focus on, all these things that were lost in the storm, when you look over here and suddenly there's this like new house, new place that you can be living. Are you going to be able to create a new life with that? So that's our magician here with our physical. And also, so with that, I think there's a connection with that of our mental. We had, for our mental health, we have the King of Swords. And this is just telling us to get more clear. Be clear with, in our mind, everything starts, the magician knows this. He's the ultimate manifester. And so, the swords, the swords is related to air. It moves quickly. It is our thoughts, our expression, how we speak. And with kings, there's a leadership here. It's how we show up also in community is the ultimate expression of the swords in their highest and best vibration. And so reminding you that everything that ever comes to be has to start from a thought first. Nothing ever came to be without a thought, and your thoughts are so powerful, they create your reality. And so the King of Swords is saying, if you get very clear about your process, and maybe kind of find out some of the places that might be causing some clutter. Very Virgo would definitely be like the time of year to clean out, dust off the cobwebs, to organize, to get rid of the waste. And also to have a plan, a strategy. There's a thing here too. What is your kind of strategy if you have some goals? How are you carrying those out? And also, before you speak these goals, and speak, the King of Swords would say to be very clear in your head. The King of Swords doesn't have to have a ton of words. It doesn't just word vomit. He might say 5 words, but everybody hangs on those words. So maybe kind of getting clear about that. And I think with this collective reading here too, in our mental, this is getting clear also with some of the fuzz that you have all around, we have all around us, whether it's the news, if it's social media, if it's negative people in our life, if it's, our thoughts getting maybe triggered by things that are happening in the world, because there is, there's a lot of negativity. And so the King of Swords also says, remember to get clear that when you're engaging with things, that mentally, those vibrations are going to become part of your vibrations if you continue to engage with certain things. So be very clear about what it is that you will or will not participate in what you watch, in what you listen to. This is your mental health. It is contagious. And so the King of Swords is very much a leader. It is kind of, it is also engaging in our masculine. It's like there might be some boundaries and saying no here too, what I'm available for. And, also I do, because this is mental and this is swords, there might be some also speaking up a little bit. And I don't mean argumentative, but just to be clear, if you hear people spouting things or whatever, and because this is our health here, some of you need to hear this, that it's okay to speak and to disagree, and to be to say, there are things that if you don't say it, it's like your throat gets kind of blocked because you feel like you're being inauthentic. You're just kind of fitting into the group, into the crowd, when you really aren't believing in it. And we can do it out of fear of conflict or being judged emotionally. That's our card for our emotions, is our judgment. So there might be an unblocking of using our throat to clear some of the places where we are afraid of being judged, and that when you actually do that, it's not really as scary as you think. Because, the King of Swords, if you're allowing others and the judgment of others and all of that fuzz to kind of impact how you're kind of navigating and how do I speak to these people, and it can be very exhausting. So, and our throat can get it can get constricted. Lastly, with this mental, with the King of Swords too, some of you need to hear that our throat chakra also is connected. Our ears are part of this. So it's not just our voice. It's not just, saying, this is what I believe. It's actually, some of you, it's kind of the opposite, where you may believe that you kind of are so clear on things that actually your ears need to be opened. And so you can open your throat by listening to, gosh, that person really sounds like an idiot. What could possibly be their perspective that they would say such a stupid thing, And so you listen and say, oh, well, now I understand. I have compassion that they have this background and really, they just don't really know better. It's like, walking into a blue room, when the only color you've ever seen is yellow, and you suddenly see this blue, it's like, what is this? So, and a reminder too that information is light. Okay, light is information. Darkness is ignorance. So the King of Swords is helping us to bring the light by really making sure we have all the information here. This is helpful too. Okay. And so with our emotions, there's this judgment. Judgment is tied to our head, so our emotions are more kind of we're perceiving the world through how our emotions, you can walk into a room and feel when people have been fighting, or if people are really down and have negative energy, you can feel that. And so, that's kind of our emotional awareness. If you're an empath, especially young children, if they're in a home where their parents maybe are, pretending everything's fine, and they say it's fine, but they're not acting that way, your emotional body is going to be confused because you can feel that things are not fine. Why is my mommy saying this? It's reading's going interesting places. So with the judgment, when that happens, so with our judgment card, that there's a call with our emotions that rather than quickly judging, oh, this is bad, that person's bad, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I did a previous reading for Temperance about kind of blending the fire and the water, and allowing kind of our feelings to kind of wash through us, and say, I feel really angry, and let yourself be mad, let yourself be frustrated, scream, cry, whatever it is that you need to kind of do, flesh it through, and then say, okay, why is that upsetting me so much? There's kind of getting more to the why. And our judgment, is in our head, and it's our brain, kind of connected to that ego part of us that is very human. It's not our spiritual side, but it is like a red flag, that helps us navigate to get closer to our intuition, to our higher self, to our spirituality, is through our emotions. And so, there's nothing wrong. I want people to hear that there's nothing wrong with you if you are feeling a certain way about something, but a reminder too, to not kind of allow yourself to dwell on that. Okay, so Virgo will take action too. This is taking action. So, okay, that really sucked. This was not great. I'm doing the best that I can, and the best that I can at this time is this. So kind of moving on and maybe taking that step by step, not continuing to judge yourself, or to judge others, you know. And so, yeah, there's this release of judgment that people can be really hard on themselves, especially in this Virgo season. So if you're hard on yourself, this is a call for you to let some of that go. And with our soul, you know, what it's calling us into, Nine of Pentacles, this is really a card of ending cycles of how we receive and allow our gift ourselves pleasure and play and joy. You know, and this is Pentacles, this is our earthly connection with Virgo, you know, the earth energy. How are we enjoying our life? We're just being called to enjoy our life more. That's it. You know, you can dwell on some of the things that you don't have, but you don't have to have, you know, the cars and the vacations and the, you know, whatever it is, the brand names, I don't know, the procedures to look a certain way, you know. Life, we're being called to get back to the simple things that really do, that nourish us and connect us back into our body also. This would not be necessarily like, you know, on a screen. This is kind of I'm feeling called to connect more with nature, whatever that is. If you live in the city, if it's opening your window, you know, and even if it's listening to the sirens that go by, you know, there's a call to kind of to allow yourself some more joy and pleasure. And that when you get caught in your Virgo tasks too, that remember, you have to remember that when you have little pockets of time, part of your process of becoming more efficient and making progress in your goals and your dreams, you have to have pockets of time that you allow yourself for pleasure. I've started making in my planner because I have so many ideas all the time. It can be very overwhelming, and I have to allow myself and say, time, I label it for fun, FF. And my FF, you know, I know that I am doing whatever it is that I want to do. It doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have to, you know, be completing anything on my list. It is simply for joy. And when you're doing that, that you're allowing yourself to immerse without worrying about the things that you're not doing, you know. So, and taking pleasure in the things, you know, that maybe you have done as well. I think with that Virgo, how we can kind of keep lifting the bar and saying, oh, we did this. Now I think we can do this. I think we can do this. Or expecting high expectations of yourself and others. Nine of Pentacles just says, just be good. Just, you're good with where you're at. Okay. Just enjoy it. It's, you know, especially in our Western world with, you know, a capitalism, it's like more is better, keep going, keep pushing. If you just do a little bit more, you'll beat out all the people around you, you know, and this is a call to, that's not serving us anymore. So beneath the surface, we have Justice. This is another number 2, just like Judgment. So there's a connection here with Virgo season that's happening between our emotional health and what's beneath the surface. You know, this duality, this way that our brain kind of wants to label things as good or bad. And if something doesn't fit into a box, then we don't really know what to do with it. So Justice is saying here in all of this that a reminder that where you are now has been a part of your decisions, you know, and your choices that you made from the past. Every single moment has led up to this moment. And what you're doing now in this earthly Virgo is also leading, it's going to be impacting your future, you know, tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. And this Magician would say, okay, that is so awesome, because right now what I do right now is going to impact you know, what may happen in 10 years or tomorrow. And I may be on this trajectory that is going this way, but I can turn it and go this way. So there's a reminder of that. And Justice calls us to be honest. I think there is, you know, the King of Swords and this judgment, to really look in the mirror. Some of us need to, and take responsibility for some of our actions, you know, some of the conflicts you may be in with people. Yeah, with this 10 of Cups, some of the, you know, places with your job, you know, whatever it may be. And this is not to be like self-critical, but, you know, we can kind of repeat stories in our head that kind of make us a victim of our circumstances. So justice underneath the surface here is telling us really be honest about your responsibility, what it is that you did that did get you here today, because then you can be clear about what you don't want to do. Yeah, justice can be that. It's like, you know what you don't want. So are you going to try something different this time? That's a huge thing with justice is, if I do this, then this will happen. It's very Virgo logical, like if I follow this list and this process, and then I will get to this place. So justice is saying, you know that if you do this, then this will happen. So when this, when these storms roll through, when your judgment comes up that may be, critical of yourself or whatever your struggles are that you're working through, you know that you've done this in the past. Can you do something different and see where it takes you? Lastly, what Queen of Wands would tell us to do, she would tell you to burn that shit, burn it away. This is the Witch of the Tarot. She says, the if-then statements, the stuff that I think we can get attachments to behaviors, to substances, to, addictions, whatever it may be. And we can get kind of like addicted to our stories even. And she says, you don't need to dwell on the past. Justice, it can be overly analytical. And, I think of like a judge or a lawyer debating back and forth. Well, I can kind of convince myself if I just, it's like self-sabotaging. If I kind of do this, well, then maybe Queen of Wands says, no, that's not right. Stop worrying, stop dwelling on that past. You burn it. Take what you need, what actually is going to help you, and be the light in the room. She's also reminding us to leave what's heavy behind. If you didn't see my #tarot songs, I did a song for Bird Talker called Heavy, and they sing about this. And she says to burn and leave what's heavy and be light and move forward in a way that that you are embodying that your lightness. It reminds us in that, I think in my temperance meditation, or what I talked about, is kind of breathing and expanding out in something that makes you smile, and kind of living in that sphere. Every time you kind of get, things that are difficult, some judgments or struggles, that you kind of let them wash through, and then you choose to focus on what's good. So Queen of Wands says, you are the fire, you are the magician, you are pleasure, you are the king, you are whatever you want to be. So she's helping us to get out of the victim mode and our control issues. Queen of Wands, she doesn't have control issues. She's very, fire. Queen of Wands, I think about our solar plexus. This is our fire. It's our identity, how we want to be seen by others, but also how we trust in ourselves, in our own expression. And letting what lights us up from the inside out be our compass that moves us forward. So Queen of Wands is working with you with the Magician this month. Tune into your body. Tune into your solar plexus, what helps light you up. That's going to help you in this Virgo. Maybe if you're like me, you might get overwhelmed with all the processes. Maybe you've got, a really full schedule, or you don't know your next path. And so, Queen of Wands is helping you that if you're not sure, the Magician, to use fire, would tune into his solar plexus. And fire is, it is quick, it is fast, it is easy. And with control issues, we can be like, no, wait, it has to be this way. And so, especially in this world, we think things have to be tough. In America, it's like, you got to work hard to earn your money. You got to prove it, So if there's this thing that things have to be difficult, it comes from some of the scarcity mindset from our ancestors and generations before us that had to come here through very difficult circumstances and live through depression and awful things. And we come from all that. And so a lot of us think things need to be hard. And Queen of Wands is reminding us it doesn't have to be so hard. If you can kind of follow the breadcrumbs that light you up, that are easy, let it be easy. That's it. That's the ending. Let it be easy. Okay. Lastly, not pertaining to the reading per se, but I think mantras are helpful. This is something you can incorporate into your Virgo, into this Virgo season, is creating a mantra. Oh, I don't have mine with me, but stay tuned and I will post it sometime soon, a great mantra. And follow me on Instagram at Entropy Healing or Facebook at Entropy Healing. You can go to entropyhealing.com and check out more of my offerings. You can schedule a reading with me. I do Zoom or in person. And I hope you have a wonderful Virgo new moon.